A quick little disclaimer before I start the video, because I want to be clear. This is not me actually going to show off the leaked gameplay for Cyberpunk 2077, because the video will be taken down as soon as I upload it. I'm not going to do that. Want the video to be up. So one of the first things that I saw was just how well CD Projekt Red had executed on this game's core idea and belief that there's verticality to this game. And what that means is, unlike in The Witcher 3, where you have these big, wide open expanses in the game, from Novigrad to Velen to Skellige, you now have these condensed pockets of people and cultures and communities in Night City, and one of those obviously being Pacifica. You enter into a penthouse, you talk to the Voodoo Boys, the Voodoo Boys send you on your way, and I counted the seconds that you rode in the elevator from the penthouse all the way to the ground floor. It was like 10 seconds. And it didn't feel like a loading screen. It felt very, very natural. It felt like you were riding in an elevator and you were talking to your Voodoo Boy handler that you had connected with prior to the mission. And what I mean by connected with, I mean the Voodoo Boys had you kind of log into their network, kind of like you were logging into a Wi-Fi, right? And they had you log into their network, and you kind of got a handler. I don't know who it was. It was in Italian, right? But you had a handler, and he kind of talked to you during the mission, and he was kind of your net runner. He was your eye in the sky, so to speak, in that gameplay demo, and he was guiding you through your mission. And another thing that I kind of noticed about Night City was just how big the city is in comparison to anything that I've seen so far. And I had a great representation of it where they had this cube-like skyscraper off in the distance. And I remembered something that I think the game director or the creative director or somebody high up from CD Projekt Red had said. It said that essentially what we're going with some of the structures in the game is you get and receive a mission in that structure, you do whatever is required within that structure, within the skyscraper, within the building, because there's going to be, people who are living there. There's going to be, basketball courts and other things that you can do within that building, within that skyscraper. It's kind of like some of the areas it's kind of like those skyscrapers that you see in Judge Dredd. If you watch that movie, it's kind of like that. And that's their philosophy. It's just form relationships with them and see and kind of decide where you want to take it from there. Decide on what missions you want to do and how you want to solve them and things of that nature. And it became very apparent that was what they were going within the game, just going off and doing whatever you needed to do as a player and whatever you philosophized as, and who do you want to work with and why. But when you go to that ground floor and you get on that bike, one thing that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind was, how fast can you really push some of the vehicles in this game? And the bike topped out at like 55 miles an hour. That's the highest speed that they could get the bike to in the demo, but they didn't ride it around for that much, to their credit. And on top of that, kind of a theory that I've had about Cyberpunk 2077 with some of the gameplay demos that they've shown off, they really have not pushed that thing at all. Because to be honest with you, when they were going 55 miles on a highway, I felt like they were holding the bike back and they were going into a turn and it looked like they hard braked or something. And I was like, I felt like with the Quavo or the Cadero or whatever the car is, I felt like they could push that thing up to like 60, 70, 80 miles an hour easily. I think you can realistically either upgrade cars to easily just top out at over 100 miles an hour or go faster than 100 miles an hour, or base-wise, like the car that you're getting off the street, I feel like could already go 100 miles an hour easily. It's just, it feels like they're really holding back on the reins with some of the abilities of the cars, to be honest with you. And on top of that, I think that they don't necessarily want to show some of the car customization, whether it's the visual customization or the performance, until the game is actually released. That's just my opinion on it. That's just a theory that I've had. But I liked what I saw overall from the cars, specifically the bike that you were driving or riding in, more specifically in Pacifica in Cyberpunk 2077 in the demo that they showed off. Now, when you go into the level where combat starts to take up, you're fighting up against a gang called the Animals, where instead of cyber augmentating their bodies, they pretty much use a bunch of steroids, and they are, I think they like biologically alter their bodies, so they put like animal genes into their bodies or whatever. I think that's how they look so juiced up or whatever, or that's the theory with them. I also think like with Sasquatch, which is their leader, I think she has some cyber augmentations. I don't know. But with the level that they showed the animals in and the character interacting with the animals, they specifically honed in on showing the stealth and the hacking portion of the gameplay, and it looks way better than Watch Dogs, I'm not going to lie to you. There was this one point where it looked similar to Watch Dogs in the sense of it showed where the security camera was connecting to the power box, or specifically the network that ran the entire animal's local LAN network. It showed you where it was. So you went behind the stack of boxes, you hacked into the network, and boom, you got into the security camera. You got into the individual like goon networks as well, so you could hack into them as well. You could hack into the not only the security camera, but also the soda machine, the boxer, and the weightlifting element, the bench press that was also in the animal's hideout. Like you got into everything very, very quickly, and how easy it was to like control everything within that base, and how important it can be just to like put skill points into that specific side of your character, because I mean they couldn't touch you at that point. There are some dudes that you could make explode, some people that you could like cause to just like, some of the stuff that you saw in the demo or that's readily available in the demo it was shown off at that 26-minute extended version of that demo, but it went into such great details. It really did show off the power of the hacking class or the Netrunner class or some of the Netrunner attributes within the game, but they also had kind of the run and gunner type of character within the game. And even though it's an RPG, even though there's going to be, you know, that theory of, well, there's going to be bullet sponging like there was in Destiny, maybe at a harder difficulty, maybe this difficulty was at an easier difficulty, or just maybe it was a demo and they just wanted to show things off. It's hard to judge with this type of stuff. However, what I saw within this game demo, this 26 minutes of leaked gameplay, I saw very, very low time to kills. In the SMG, it had a really, really fast fire rate and it was suppressed, so maybe the damage wasn't necessarily that high. Also, it's an SMG, so the range may not necessarily be that great, but the time to kill was like 20-something rounds. It was very, very fast. It was only like a couple of seconds, and then boom, another guy is down, and then another guy is down, and then they had an SMG or an LMG, and then they tore apart a turret, and it, like, the time to kill was incredibly fast within this game, and dudes were going down very, very quickly, but there were different enemy types, and the AI seemed kind of smart. There was the rusher, the guy that just straight up bums rush you, and then there's the guy with the gun that's going to shoot at you from a long range. And let me talk about the rusher here for like a couple of seconds. The rusher kind of functions like a little bit of a downgrade version of the Marauder and Doom Eternal, where the Marauder kind of has a dash and he's going to avoid some of your shots. He's not as overpowered as the Marauder, obviously, but he had a dash on him where he positioned himself kind of away from your reticle. So once you put, you know, your reticle on him, he kind of shifted, and he had like a 3 dash, or he dashed 3 times before he stopped dashing. So you could kind of predict where he was going to go and where he would end up. But sometimes he would just get right in your face. Other times he would just reposition himself and make sure that he wouldn't get shot. It was very, very intuitive. And sometimes they just ran straight at you and you could gun them down that way, if I'm being honest with you. And then there are other times with the long range enemies where they would be pretty much in full cover and take a really, really nice angle at you from like 40 to 50 feet away from you. And with an SMG, it's kind of hard to get that nice angle on them. There was some recoil in the game, so it wasn't like that you could just like fully auto them and just blast them from across a room. No, you kind of had to time your shots and space out your shots to, you know, compensate for recoil. But there was very, very little time to kill with the guns. The gunplay was excellent, as I've always seen throughout all of the gameplay demos that I've watched. And I've watched almost 2+ hours. I've watched every single piece of gameplay that CD Projekt Red has released ever since 2018, and really since 2013 with the trailer that they released as well. Like, I've seen everything, and the time to kill it's never really fluctuated. It's never increased or decreased, and I don't know, again, if difficulty will come into play with time to kill. I assume so. However, it seems really, really nice and fast with the time to kill. There is opposition. There is pushback with the enemy types and the enemy AI as well. They're not just going to let you shoot at them, but they will be somewhat easy to kill in the game. That's kind of what I saw from the gameplay demo. It was a lot to unpack, but it was very, very informative. It kind of pieced together a lot of what I saw in that 14-minute gameplay demo in September or August, whenever it was released, and it really, really just confirmed what I had seen over the last couple of years for this game. I'm very, very excited for this game. I understand why they didn't release any of the gameplay. I saw some people on Reddit saying that there wasn't any recoil, that the game didn't look very good, or that the game wasn't very, like, the game looked bland or whatever, and, like, I understand it now because I'm like, way too many people, they can't interpret what they're seeing on the screen. And on top of that, they don't take that the game is literally watermarked with "this is a work in progress" literally at the top of the screen. Seriously, I know it's a work in progress. I know some of the things don't necessarily look very good, that are going to be cleaned up when the game is polished and things of that nature, but it's like it's a work in progress, and some of the stuff that you're watching doesn't really matter. But the core mechanics, the gameplay is there. I cannot wait to see more. I know that there was also some more leaked gameplay, which was like a minute long, and it was of apparently a Q&A that they had. I think that's going to address some of the answers or some of the questions that the fans have for Cyberpunk 2077. I will break that down whenever they will release more gameplay. But ladies and gentlemen, this has already been a long video enough, but this has been 24. Remember to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe for more. Until my next video, I hope you have a fantastic day, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.